Ghost hunting is all the rage these days, both as entertainment and as a hobby/profession. Head on to pretty much any streaming service, especially Amazon Prime, and you'll see dozens of documentaries and television shows on the subject. In fact, I don't think the Travel Channel is about travel anymore, given the amount of programming focused on paranormal investigators and their adventures. Given this popularity, it should come as no surprise that many investigators have taken to documenting their adventures, be it through traditional television or social media. In fact, as someone who's spent 18 years in the field myself, it pretty much comes with the territory these days. Case in point is Sean Austin, a demonologist and paranormal investigator who headlines Travel Channel's Ghost Loop, which is about a team of specialized paranormal investigators whose task it is to rescue people from a seemingly endless and repetitive type of haunting called a ghost loop. Austin is a known paranormal investigator, medium, and author with 11 years' experience under his belt, and he's front and center in the new documentary MALEFICE, a true story of a demonic haunting. As far as paranormal documentaries go, MALEFICE covers a lot of ground, and Austin recruited director-producer Billy Lewis to help him cover it all. Lewis is best known for the horror films Ghost Cage, also known as The Jailhouse, and The Terrible 2, both of which have screened worldwide. And Lewis brings a keen eye and storytelling sense to this documentary, which plays out over the course of 6 years. Back in 2015, Austin investigated a rural home that used to be a brothel. As the story goes, which is always the case in these kinds of things, a man named Robert abused the prostitutes who lived there and aborted their babies. He's even believed to have killed several of the women and buried the bodies of the women and children alike on the property. Using footage from the actual investigation, we see Austin confront the dark presence in the home and, according to him, free at least one woman's spirit from its evil grasp. Austin knows this because he saw the image of a white dove in his mind, and this is supposed to be a sign that a woman's soul has been sent to heaven. Flash forward to 2020, and, through interviews with Austin, it becomes clear his actions at the home, which is referred to as Mason House, have left a lingering impression on him, almost as if he's being stalked by whatever presence was in the house. In fact, on the night following the initial investigation at the home, he says he saw shadows flitting around his bed and even witnessed, perhaps in a dream, a decomposed man making a throat-slitting gesture at him. When he woke up, he saw a horned figure in his room who bellowed out to him, "There are rules."
There are rules.
We definitely know that the demons play by rules. They play by God's rules. It's not even the devil's rules. He didn't make the game. He's a player within it.
In the ensuing years, Austin believes the demonic presence was responsible for the breakup of a romantic relationship and made itself known at several investigations he and his team went on, saying the same guttural voice turned up during communications with spirits. He even credits an attack on a female colleague to the demon. This prompts Austin, along with fellow investigators Dave Spinks and Eric Conner, to return to Mason House and confront the entity once and for all, hopefully freeing any remaining spirits it has trapped there, and ending the years of torment he has experienced. At this point, it should be clear Austin is very much a religious person with a deep belief in God, and he brings this belief into his investigations. He's mentored under Ralph Sarchie, who movie fans know from the 2014 Scott Derrickson film Deliver Us from Evil. Although a solid horror movie, it can best be described as Sarchie fan fiction, as it's very loosely based on the cases Sarchie and author Lisa Collier-Cool documented in the book Beware the Night. Sarchie is a former New York City cop turned paranormal investigator, demonologist, and exorcist, and he's mentored Austin as the same. He turns up in the documentary via virtual interviews and coaches Austin and the viewer on demons and demonology, explaining a demon's sole existence is to torment humans and mock God. At least that's the Cliff Notes version of it. All right, narrator guy, this is all well and good, you say, but is Malefice worth watching? To answer this question, I need to look at it through two lenses. One as a film critic for more than 11 years, and the other as a paranormal investigator with several years' experience under my belt. Taken as a piece of entertainment, this is a solid piece of work. Lewis has a great visual eye and does a good job combining footage from the actual investigations at Mason House with interviews and reenactments to tell a compelling story of good versus evil. It helps Austin and company fuel this narrative, so to speak, by the fact they genuinely believe they are confronting a demon from hell. This is backed up by much of the evidence they compile, especially during the 3 nights they spend at Mason House leading up to Austin's exorcism of the property. They rely a lot on EVPs, which are an electronic voice phenomenon where investigators ask questions of the spirits present and record responses using digital recorders and devices like a spirit box, which is essentially an AM/FM receiver. During one segment, Austin, Spinks, and Conner are able to deduce a demon named Malak is responsible for possessing the man believed responsible for the women's murders and the abortions that took place there. Indeed, there is a demon named Malak who is believed to be the recipient of child sacrifices. Throughout the 3 nights spent at the home, they record the word demon several times and even capture multiple female voices weeping and calling out to their children. It adds up to some compelling, at least from a storytelling perspective, and creepy stuff. There's also a subplot, and I call it that because I can't think of a better word, where the presence is intent on harming and perhaps even possessing Eric Conner. The demon allegedly says his name several times, via the spirit box of course, and Lewis uses footage of Conner being tormented by sounds while he sleeps. He even tells the camera he feels something pressing down on him as he's trying to sleep. Lewis interjects himself into the narrative, providing one of the film's more surprising moments. A self-described skeptic, Lewis decided to leave a GoPro running while he slept at Mason House after the first night of filming. Interestingly enough, he captured audio of a woman screaming with his GoPro when there was no woman present and no one else actually heard the scream, let alone himself, as he slept through it all. Malefice culminates in the eventual exorcism of the home and property. Those expecting an exorcist-level showdown, complete with possessions, pea soup vomit, and spinning heads, will be disappointed. What we get are shots of Austin praying throughout the house, spraying holy water in each room, and burying St. Benedict pendants throughout the property, therefore driving away any evil. It's not visually exciting from a horror movie perspective, but it does ground the material. There's also a nice sequence prior to the exorcism where Sarchie blesses Austin, telling him he needs to steel himself against the demonic influence. When someone embarks on a path like Austin's, he opens himself up to attacks from the devil. This adds a sense of menace to the proceedings, whether you're a believer or not. So as entertainment, Malefice is quite good. It held my attention for the entire running time and, as a documentary, told a complete and compelling story. But how does it stand up under scrutiny from one paranormal investigator to another? This is a tough question to answer, at least tougher than saying, yeah, it's a good movie, give it a watch. For one, Austin, Sarchie and company are devout Catholics with a passion for helping others who they believe are under demonic attack. It's hard to argue with that, even if I don't necessarily believe it. I've never seen, in all my years as a paranormal investigator, one single piece of evidence that suggests demons walk the earth. But they see such activity everywhere, and probably think I'm crazy for thinking different. Who's right and who's wrong? Who's to say? That being said, they did a decent job of showing what a paranormal investigation is like, taking care not to create any false scares or build up tension when it wasn't warranted. There's even a scene where Eric Conner believes a photo he took of director Billy Lewis shows a horrific face and possibly a light anomaly. Austin takes the time to scrutinize it and even debunk it. That gives him a lot of credibility in my book. They even capture a genuinely creepy piece of footage showing a shadow looming out of a closet where the dark entity is believed to be hiding. This was captured during a live stream at Mason House and is shown during a post-credits sequence revealing additional evidence. Also of note are the Evp sequences. Yes, I said I don't buy into the religious aspects that led the investigation, but Lewis shows how an EVP session can play out, and how even the most skeptical of investigators, talking about me, can get caught up in the question and answer flow of these sessions. This has happened to me a few times, and I felt very much like I was there with Austin and company, being led along by random answers that, at the time, seemed to make sense, but likely wouldn't hold up under scrutiny later. Most compelling of all is a sequence where Austin, Spinks, and Conner venture into the woods, and are essentially led to the location where some of the bodies are believed to be buried during a session with the spirit box. Again, Lewis lets things play out, and, some edits aside, we as the audience are taken on the journey with them. I gotta mention the closing exorcism again. I admit, I thought a few stops might be pulled out here, and feared Lewis might try to jazz up this sequence with some over-the-top editing and music. But he doesn't. He uses Sarchie's prayer of protection for Austin to set the scene, then lets things play out as they obviously did at the time. The walls didn't start to bleed, there was no anguished scream, the exorcism happened, and the team went home. It was almost enough to get me to believe in this demonic stuff as a real thing. Almost. My only complaint really was the number of times they pointed out light anomalies as a sign of spirit activity, even though to me, they looked like dust or bugs flying about. I've always viewed this kind of thing as the least compelling bit of evidence one can gather. But hey, that's me. So we've got a decent paranormal documentary that is also a decent piece of entertainment. It helps that Sean Austin is no Zach Baggins, and I mean that as a good thing. He seems genuinely passionate about being a paranormal investigator and demonologist and about helping others. Dave Spinks and Eric Conner are also great on camera and back him up nicely. After viewing Eric Bana's fine portrayal of Sarchie in Deliver Us from Evil and reading the book, I enjoyed seeing the man himself on screen. Malefice is not only a good night at the movies, but it's a good look at a paranormal investigation as well. A few personal gripes and beliefs aside, that is. Seek it out at scarenetwork.tv. I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10.